Narrator. Hello and a very sociable welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. In our increasingly interconnected yet paradoxically isolated world, there's a skill that remains profoundly human and utterly essential: the art of meeting new people. Whether it's at a professional networking event, a casual social gathering, or even just striking up a conversation with a new neighbor, the ability to initiate contact, build rapport, and forge genuine connections is a powerful gateway to new opportunities, richer experiences, and a more fulfilling life. Yet for many, the mere thought of walking into a room full of strangers can conjure feelings of anxiety, awkwardness, or even fear. What do you say? How do you overcome shyness? And how do you ensure the conversation flows naturally? Today, we're not just observing social butterflies. We're delving into the practical strategies and psychological shifts needed to confidently navigate the exciting landscape of meeting new people. Prepare for an insightful and incredibly practical conversation between Clara, a naturally gregarious and skilled networker, and Leo, a thoughtful individual eager to enhance his conversational confidence. Their dialogue will not only enrich your English comprehension and vocabulary related to social interaction and communication, but also equip you with invaluable perspectives and actionable advice to confidently initiate conversations, build rapport, and transform strangers into valuable connections. So, open your mind, prepare your questions, and let's unlock the secrets to building connections with confidence. Clara. Leo, it's wonderful to discuss something as fundamental as meeting new people. It's a skill that has opened so many doors for me, both professionally and personally. What are your initial thoughts, or perhaps your biggest hurdles, when it comes to initiating conversations with strangers? Leo. Clara, thanks for guiding me through this. My biggest hurdle is definitely the initial approach. What to say, how to break the ice without sounding awkward or intrusive. I often worry about rejection or not having anything interesting to talk about. Feels like a high-stakes game sometimes. Where does one even begin to overcome that initial apprehension? Clara. Your feelings are incredibly common, Leo, and perfectly valid. Many people experience that initial apprehension. The absolute first principle for overcoming it is to shift your mindset from performing to connecting. You're not there to impress. You're there to learn about another human being. Secondly, start small and practice regularly. Don't aim to charm an entire room at once. Begin with a simple smile and eye contact. My first practical tip for breaking the ice is to use a situational opener. Comment on something in your immediate environment. For example, at a party, "This is a great spread of food, isn't it?" Or at a conference, "That last speaker was really thought-provoking." This is low pressure and provides an immediate common ground. What kind of social situations do you find most challenging? Leo. Networking events are definitely the most challenging. I feel like everyone is judging each other. The situational opener sounds much less intimidating than trying to think of something clever. Once I've opened, how do I keep the conversation flowing naturally without it turning into an interview or running out of things to say? Clara. Excellent question, Leo. Keeping the conversation flowing is an art, not a science. The key is to ask open-ended questions and to be a curious listener. Open-ended questions, those that can't be answered with a simple yes or no, invite elaboration. Instead of, "Do you like your job?" try, "What do you enjoy most about your work?" Or, "What led you to pursue this career path?" Once they answer, genuinely listen and then ask follow-up questions based on their response. This shows you're engaged and interested. People love to talk about themselves. What's one topic you find yourself naturally curious about in others? Leo. I'm usually curious about people's hobbies or what they do outside of work. That's a good way to find common ground. What about when there's a lull in the conversation, or if I feel like I'm doing all the asking? How do I politely shift the focus or re-energize the dialogue? Clara. Lulls are completely normal, Leo, don't fear them. It's an opportunity to shift gears or allow for comfortable silence. If you feel like you're doing all the asking, you can gently pivot by offering information about yourself related to something they've said. You know, when you mentioned their topic, it reminds me of your related experience. This opens the door for them to ask you questions. Another strategy is to introduce a new but still relevant topic. By the way, have you had a chance to check out recent events/news in your field? Or if it feels right, What are you hoping to get out of this event today? What's one thing about yourself you're always comfortable sharing? Leo, I'm always comfortable sharing about my interest in technology or a recent book I've read. That's a good way to offer information about myself. What about body language and nonverbal cues? How important are they in making a good first impression and showing genuine interest? Clara, body language is incredibly powerful. Leo, it often speaks louder than words. To make a good first impression and show genuine interest, you can certainly maintain eye contact, not staring but comfortable, intermittent eye contact that conveys sincerity. A genuine smile is universally inviting, and an open posture, avoiding crossed arms or turning away, helps you face the person squarely. You can also lean in slightly, subtly showing engagement, and nod occasionally to indicate you're listening and understanding. Sometimes, even subtly mirroring someone's posture or gestures can build rapport, but it's best not to overdo it. These cues collectively signal approachability and engagement. Do you find you're generally aware of your own body language? Leo, I try to be, but sometimes I might cross my arms without realizing it. I'll definitely focus on a more open posture. What about remembering names? Something I really struggle with, and it feels awkward when you forget someone's name right after meeting them. Clara, remembering names is a universal challenge, Leo, but it's one of the most powerful tools for building rapport. When someone tells you their name, you can immediately repeat it back, saying something like, "Nice to meet you, name." Then try to use their name naturally within the conversation in the first few minutes, perhaps by asking, "So, name, what brings you here today?" You could also try to associate their name with something visual or a word association like, Sarah, like the princess. Most importantly, listen actively. Don't be thinking about your next question when they introduce themselves. And if it's an unusual name, mentally spell it out. These techniques strengthen the memory connection, and while it takes conscious effort at first, it gets easier with practice. What's a trick you've tried for remembering names? Leo, I try to repeat it, but I don't always use it in conversation right away. I'll definitely make a conscious effort to do that. What about when you meet someone interesting and you want to follow up or connect with them professionally? How do you ask for contact information politely and effectively? Clara, this is the bridge from conversation to connection, Leo. When you've had a good conversation and genuinely feel there's a reason to connect further, be direct but polite. You can say, "I've really enjoyed our conversation about topic. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn or exchange cards to continue the discussion." Or, "It sounds like we have some shared interests in area. Would you be open to connecting?" Have your business card or phone ready. The key is to have a clear, shared reason for the follow-up. Avoid just collecting cards without a purpose. What kind of follow-up do you prefer after an initial meeting? Leo, I prefer LinkedIn for professional connections. The clear, shared reason is a great way to frame it. What about navigating different social settings, a casual party versus a formal networking event? Do your strategies change? Clara, yes, Leo, you'll definitely adapt your strategies for different settings, although the core principles remain. At a casual party, things are more relaxed. Openers can be more personal, like, "How do you know the host?" And conversations might revolve around hobbies, travel, or everyday life. The dress code is typically more relaxed too. For a formal networking event, it's more structured and purpose-driven. Openers often relate to the event itself, industry trends, or professional roles. Conversations are generally more focused on career, industry, or professional interests, and the dress code is typically business casual or formal. You'll also want to adjust your voice and energy level to match the environment, whether it's a quiet coffee shop or a lively reception. It's about reading the room and matching the social norms. How do you prepare for a formal networking event? Leo, I try to research who might be there and come up with a few talking points related to my work. What about dealing with shyness or introversion? Can an introverted person still become good at meeting new people without feeling completely drained? Clara, absolutely, Leo. This is a common misconception. Being introverted doesn't mean you can't be good at meeting people. It just means you approach it differently and manage your energy. First, introverts often prefer quality over quantity, favoring deeper, more meaningful conversations with fewer people, rather than superficial chats with many, so focus on that. Second, prepare by having a few go-to questions or conversation starters. Third, take breaks if you feel overwhelmed in a crowded room. Step away for a few minutes, perhaps to the restroom or to grab a drink to recharge. Fourth, you could find a wing person, a friend who is comfortable making introductions. Fifth, focus on the other person as this takes the pressure off yourself. And finally, schedule recovery time, planning for downtime after a big social event. Introverts can be excellent listeners, which is a powerful social skill. What helps you recharge after social interaction? Leo, quiet time alone, definitely. Knowing it's okay to take breaks is very reassuring. What about dealing with rejection or awkward moments? It's easy to take it personally and get discouraged. Clara, rejection and awkward moments are inevitable, Leo, and mastering them is crucial for resilience. First, don't take it personally. Most of the time it's not about you. The other person might be busy, shy, distracted, or simply not looking to connect. Second, learn and move on. If a conversation fizzles, gracefully exit, perhaps by saying, "It was great chatting with you, enjoy the rest of the event." Then approach someone new. Third, reframe the experience. See it as practice, not failure. Every interaction, good or bad, is a learning opportunity. Fourth, focus on the positive interactions and don't let one awkward moment overshadow many good ones. It's about developing a thick skin and a growth mindset. How do you usually handle minor setbacks in other areas of your life? Leo, I try to learn from them, but it's hard not to dwell. I'll definitely try to reframe awkward interactions as practice. What about the elevator pitch, or concisely introducing yourself? How do I create a compelling, brief introduction that sparks interest? Clara, the elevator pitch is more about being able to succinctly describe your value, Leo, rather than a rigid script. It's about being clear, concise, and compelling when asked, "What do you do?" or "Tell me about yourself." You should keep it short, ideally 20 to 30 seconds maximum. Focus on what you do, not just your title, thinking about what problem you solve or what value you bring. Tailor it by adapting it slightly to your audience or the context. And finally, end with an open door, saying something that invites a question or further conversation. For example, I help small businesses leverage digital marketing to reach new customers, especially through social media strategy. Then you can pause for their reaction. What's your current default answer when asked, "What do you do?" Leo, my current answer is just my job title, which doesn't say much. I'll definitely work on a more value-oriented pitch. What about following up after meeting someone? How important is it, and what's the best way to do it without seeming pushy? Clara, following up is absolutely crucial, Leo. It's where the connection is solidified and built upon. You should do it promptly, ideally within 24 to 48 hours. Reference your conversation by reminding them of what you discussed, perhaps saying, "It was great chatting with you about specific topic at event name." This personalizes it. State your reason for connecting, such as, "I'd love to connect on LinkedIn to share resources," or, "I found our discussion about topic fascinating and wanted to share this article." And remember to keep it brief and respectful. Avoid generic "nice to meet you" messages, and always provide value or a specific reason for connecting. What are you hoping to gain from your follow-ups? Leo, I'm hoping to build a stronger professional network and learn from others. The personalized follow-up sounds much more effective. What about the long-term perspective of building a network? How do you maintain relationships over time? Clara, building a network is a marathon, not a sprint, Leo. Maintaining relationships over time requires consistent, low-effort engagement. You can periodically check in with a quick email sharing an article relevant to their interests, or a LinkedIn message congratulating them on an achievement. Offer help yourself, being a resource to others, not just someone who asks for favors. You might say, "I saw this and thought of you, let me know if you need anything." Meet occasionally for coffee, a quick chat, or attend relevant events they might be at. And try to remember key details, keeping a small mental or even physical note of their interests, family details, or career milestones. It's about nurturing connections, not just making them. What's one way you like to maintain friendships? Leo, I like to send interesting articles or relevant news. I can definitely apply that to professional connections too. Clara, this has been incredibly insightful and genuinely empowering. You've made meeting new people feel much less daunting and more like a rewarding process. Clara, my pleasure, Leo. Remember, every new person you meet is a potential new perspective, a new opportunity, and a new story. Embrace the process, trust your authentic self, and enjoy the richness that genuine connections bring to your life. Narrator. What a wonderfully practical and empowering conversation between Clara and Leo. They masterfully unpacked the art and science of meeting new people, transforming it from a source of anxiety into a rewarding journey of connection and growth. From the foundational importance of shifting your mindset and using situational openers, to the strategic use of open-ended questions, impactful body language, and effective follow-up, their dialogue provided a comprehensive blueprint for confident social interaction. Their insights underscore that building connections is not about being an extrovert. It's about genuine curiosity, active listening, and a willingness to engage. Now, let's briefly engage with some key ideas from their discussion. Practice session. Narrator. Let's practice some of the valuable strategies Clara and Leo discussed. First, consider Clara's absolute first principle for overcoming the apprehension of meeting new people. She advised shifting your mindset from performing to connecting. What does this mean to you in practice, and how might it change your approach? And next, think about breaking the ice. Clara suggested a situational opener. Can you think of an example of a low-pressure situational opener you could use at a social gathering or a professional event? And now, let's consider keeping the conversation flowing naturally. Clara recommended asking open-ended questions. What's an example of an open-ended question you could ask someone to encourage them to elaborate on a topic? Finally, remembering names is crucial. Clara shared several practical tips for this. Can you recall one practical tip Clara gave for remembering someone's name after meeting them, and how you might apply it? Narrator. As Clara and Leo so eloquently articulated, the ability to meet new people is a profound act of connection, an opportunity to expand your world, and a cornerstone of personal and professional fulfillment. It is an invitation to engage with courage, listen with empathy, and offer your authentic self to others. By embracing these strategies, you transform moments of potential awkwardness into pathways for genuine rapport, enriching your life with diverse perspectives and meaningful relationships. Remember, every stranger is a story waiting to be told, and every conversation is a chance to build a bridge. Until our next illuminating discussion on the English Learning Podcast, keep connecting, keep learning, and keep growing your network of wonderful people.